into writing, and at first I was like, oh, maybe like I want to write for other people, but then it turned into like, no, actually, like I want to sing these songs by myself. And I started just like distancing myself from, I feel like, the group vision.
That she started making her departure by slowly distancing herself from bandmates Normani, Ali Brooke, Dinah Jane, and Lauren Jaragu.
They were marketed as a future of girl power. 5 teenagers plucked from obscurity, polished for prime time, and pushed onto the world stage as the heirs to Destiny's Child. Fifth Harmony had the hits, the choreography, the screaming crowds.
Is there any bit of you misses being in a band?
Honestly, no.
But behind the glitter was a darker story of young women packaged as products, pushed to exhaustion, and forced to play roles that often stripped them of control. What began as a dream on the X Factor quickly turned into a cautionary tale about what happens when the machine values profit over people. The shine of Fifth Harmony's rise was always a little cracked if you looked close enough. Even when they were dominating charts and red carpets, the girls themselves were quietly describing a grind that felt endless, and a system that gave them almost no control. The most haunting glimpse came when a private recording of Lauren Jaragu surfaced, her voice breaking as she said they were being treated like literal slaves. It wasn't an exaggeration, the schedule was relentless. Mall shows stacked on world tours, rehearsals that ran them into the ground, and performances so mechanical that Lauren later admitted she'd sometimes wake up in the middle of a set and realize she felt nothing. For a group selling empowerment and big choreographed spectacle, that kind of emptiness was the truest red flag. Camila Cabello was one of the first to pull back the curtain on the deeper costs. She admitted that from the very start, executives pushed the group into projecting a image, one the teenage members often weren't comfortable with. Especially with being a girl group, there's been a lot of times where people have tried to us to just get more attention, she revealed. Unfortunately, sells. She drew a sharp line between artists like Rihanna, who used sexuality on her own terms, and Fifth Harmony, where sex appeal was forced on them by the machine. It wasn't empowerment, it was commodification that pressure-fed identity struggles, resentment, and the slow erosion of any sense of agency. For Ali Brooke, the burden took a different shape. The oldest of the group, she was labeled the glue by Simon Cowell, which really meant she was expected to hold the whole shaky operation together, but she was also sidelined from the beginning. On their very first single, she was given only a single line. Fans noticed, the criticism online was brutal. Years later, Ali admitted the experience left her humiliated. It was a reminder that in the pop machine, even something as small as the distribution of lines could cut deep, making a teenager question her worth on the world stage. That fragility was baked in from the start. Fifth Harmony wasn't born out of natural chemistry or long nights of bonding in rehearsal studios. They were built. In 2012, Ali, Camila, Lauren, Dinah Jane, and Normani all auditioned for the X Factor USA as solo hopefuls. All were rejected, but Simon Cowell and the judges saw dollar signs and decided to reassemble them as a group. Even the name wasn't theirs, and after failed branding attempts as Lila's and 1432, the final choice, Fifth Harmony, came from a live audience vote. From day one, the girls weren't artists so much as a packaged product, and with packaging came control. Signed to Psycho and Epic Records right out of the gate, they quickly learned how little say they had. Songs were often handed to them just hours before they were expected to record. The sound, the look, the rollout, all dictated from above. We didn't have any basic understanding of business, Normani later said, and we're being thrown into this world of wolves where they really screw you over with contracts. The girls were 15, 16, 19, teenagers suddenly locked in a corporate grip that cared about sales more than their voices.
That turned into writing, and at first I was like, oh, maybe like I want to write for other people, but then it turned into like, no, actually, like I want to sing these songs by myself. And I started just like distancing myself from, I feel like, the group vision.
The exit was messy, both publicly and privately. The group insisted she quit through her reps. Camila denied it. Fans picked sides, and the spectacle of the breakup dominated headlines. Behind the cameras though, the 4 left behind were grieving not just a member, but the very idea of what the group could have been. Dinah Jane later admitted it plainly. We lost the magic of it all. We were doing songs just to do songs for a group that was supposed to embody harmony. The story was really about dissonance. between image and reality, between control and freedom, between 5 young women and the machine that swallowed them. The group's polished image eventually cracked under pressure, exposing the emotional cost of pop built on appearance before artistry. That crack widened when Camila Cabello began stepping out on her own. Even while still tied to the group, she was signaling that her voice and vision could extend beyond the collective.
That she started making her departure by slowly distancing herself from bandmates Normani, Ali Brooke, Dinah Jane, and Lauren Jaragu.
In late 2015, she dropped her first collaboration outside the band, I Know What You Did Last Summer with Shawn Mendes. The song didn't just perform, it went platinum, proof she had pull beyond the Fifth Harmony brand. A year later, Bad Things with Machine Gun Kelly climbed into the Billboard Top 5, further cementing her breakout. To fans, these tracks revealed her as more than just 1/5 of the group. To the rest of Fifth Harmony, they hinted at a shift that was only a matter of time. The back and forth only escalated. The remaining members doubled down in an Instagram post claiming they had tried to involve Camila in talks with L.A. Reid and even counseling sessions, but that she and her team declined. The result was a public standoff. Was Camila ambitious but misunderstood, or was she disloyal and evasive? The feud hit its peak at the 2017 MTV VMAs. During their performance of Angel, a silhouette of a 5th member was flung off stage before the 4 carried on. It was a clear jab, applauded by some, criticized by others, but it confirmed what was already obvious: the group was beyond repair. From there, both sides leaned into their new lanes. The 4 pressed forward, presenting their self-titled album as proof of unity and creative control. Camila, meanwhile, launched into a solo run that quickly outpaced the group's momentum. What began as a packaged vision of girl power had unraveled into a story of branding versus authenticity, loyalty versus ambition, and the fallout of an industry built to pit artists against each other.
Is there any bit of you misses being in a band?
Honestly, no.
By the time the dust settled from Camila's exit, the remaining 4 pressed forward, determined to prove they weren't done. Their self-titled 2017 album was pitched as a statement of independence. For the first time, they co-wrote much of the material and pushed for more control over their sound, presenting the project as a rebirth, but the cracks beneath the surface only deepened. Lauren Jaragu later admitted, "It came to a point where I'd catch myself on stage and realize I'm not feeling this." That disconnection hardened into burnout. For Normani, the strain was heavier. As the group's standout dancer and stage leader, she was the centerpiece of performances, yet she often felt ignored by the press and fandom. Worse, she endured some of the ugliest racism of the group's run: death threats, slurs, even lynching images circulating online. The abuse left her questioning her value. "You worry, is it me? Is it because I'm black, or am I just not talented?" It was a devastating contrast to the girl power image being sold. At the same time, battles with the label sharpened. The 4 described feeling like puppets, worn down by a system more invested in product than people. To claw back some control, they switched management, renegotiated contracts, and tried to regain creative agency. But by early 2018, the damage was already done. In March, they announced an indefinite hiatus. The joint statement, signed by Normani, Lauren, Ali, and Dinah, was gracious but tired. They thanked fans for one hell of a memorable journey, while admitting that after 6 years of non-stop work, they needed to rediscover themselves as individuals. Their final show on May 11, 2018 in Florida carried the weight of closure. Weeks later, their last video, Don't Say You Love Me, gave fans a parting metaphor. Each member walking out of a room, one by one, leaving harmony behind as they stepped into separate futures. Those futures unfolded quickly. Camila wasted no time accelerating her solo career. Havana became a global juggernaut in 2017, topping charts in more than 20 countries and breaking Spotify records for solo female tracks. But the success came shadowed by scrutiny. In 2019, racist Tumblr posts from her teenage years resurfaced, forcing her to issue a public apology. She expressed shame and growth, but for Normani, who had already endured years of racist attacks, the apology was painful, reopening old wounds. Normani carved her own spotlight with singles like Motivation and Wild Side. Her performances earned praise for electricity and artistry, but the industry machinery lagged behind. Despite high-profile collaborations and management backing, her debut album never arrived, leaving fans frustrated and highlighting how talent alone doesn't guarantee label investment. Lauren chose introspection, leaning into moody R and B-pop threaded with politics and identity. The music gave her freedom, but without mainstream push, her audience stayed niche, dedicated but limited.
A huge part of my story, and what we did together is iconic music history, you know what I mean? So I look at it really fondly and with a lot of love and just clear.
Dinah embraced her Polynesian roots, weaving her heritage into her sound. The singles didn't chart big, but her cultural pride gave her work distinction, even if recognition remained slow. Ally, once branded as the group's glue, pivoted toward Latin music and television projects. She also became one of the most outspoken about the darker side of their journey, describing her years in Fifth Harmony as traumatizing, like with mental and verbal abuse from executives. Speaking her truth became her form of healing. Together, their solo past told a bigger story. The same system that overworked and overpackaged Fifth Harmony also decided to varying degrees who soared and who struggled once the machine no longer bound them. Fifth Harmony's legacy is more than a pop timeline. It's a cautionary tale about how the industry molds young women into products, strips away control, and leaves behind fractured human lives. Their fight for autonomy, messy as it was, is also proof of the resilience it takes to reclaim a voice once lost.